Welcome students. Today we are going to see quiz on OWASP vulnerabilities and session management and cookies. So here we have 20 questions. So the each questions have 4 options. You have to choose the proper option and you have to answer it. So let's move on to the first question. What is the primary purpose of session management in web application? Option A, to store permanent user data. Option B, to manage user authentication. Option C, to maintain state between HTTP request. Option D, to optimize database queries. So here we have to see that what is session management. The session management holds the information of which user used the web browsers. So this information stores in the server. So on this basis, what is the primary purpose on the basis of web application that we have to see. This session management maintain the state between the particular protocol which send the request. So we have discussed that in the session management, the request sent through the HTTP. Then the answer is C. And the answer is C. Answer is C. This session management is used to maintain user specific state between multiple HTTP requests because the users will send multiple requests to the servers. So if you want to send a request means you have to use HTTP protocol while using the web browsers. So only the answer is C. Question number 2. What is a cookies in the context of web development? Option A, a small sweet treat. Option B, a file stored on the client device. Option C, a server-side script. Option D, a database query. Cookies means it's a piece of data which stores in the client device. What are the operations services used on the web applications that will stores in the web browsers? That will stores in the web browser plain text as a plain text in the web browser. So if you are using particular web browser, what are the web search you have done, that information stored as that related web information stored as a cookies in the web browsers. So answer will be B. Answer will be B. A file stored on the client device. Question number 3. Which HTTP method is commonly used to send session data to the server? So, user, you wants to send a request to the server means you have to use a specific method which carries the request, which carries the request. So send means we have to analyze that we are sending the request to the server. So answer will be post. Answer will be post. So we are posting the request to the server to get the response. So answer will be B. Question number 4. What is a session ID? What is a session ID? So this session ID is unique. Session ID is unique. So this unique identifier assigned to the each user, assigned to the each user. So this session consists the information about the session which is using by the user. Then the answer will be A. Answer will be A. An identifier for a web session. So all the information the user which use on the web application, that information stores on the server. So when it is stores on the server, the each user has the unique ID that will identifying the session information. Question number 5. Which of the following is not a common way to store session data? Cookies. Option B, URL parameter. C, session variable on the server. D, database. So the session, when you are using a session management, it will store some of the information regarding which you are doing on the web application. So in this, the cookies will be there because the piece of information about the browsing information will stores, and it has the session variable because id, you have to store the data in the id that will stores on the database. So all these three components are required on the session data, but these url parameters will not be available in the session data. Then the answer will be B. Answer will be B, the url parameter. So parameter means after the address whatever. So if you are using google means google.com is the address. After the slash you are giving some unique address. So unique names are some identifying that is called as a parameter which will not store in the session data. Question number 6. How are cookies typically stored on the client's device? Our cookies typically stored on the client device. Option A, in a database. Option B, in a server-side session variable. Option C, in a text file. Option D, in the client browser. So where exactly these cookies are storing, that we have to get it. So this cookies is a piece of information which, so small piece of information about the websites which is using on the web browser. web browser. So the data stores in a text format. The data stores in a text format, but how this typically stored information means in the client browser. In the client browser. So answer is D is correct. Cookies are stored in the client browser. You can see this cookies information on your browsers. Just go for the history of your browser. There you can see the cookies data. So thus that cookies data stores in the plain text format. So all the information you can read about the which the web browsers you are using on that moment or previously. So it is can hold for the longer time. If you hold this cookies data for the longer time means it it is supporting for the hackers who enter into your applications or your mobiles. So only we are suggesting that the user should not be stored the cookies in the your client browsers. You have to clean all the cookies. You can set the timings also to delete the browsing history of your web application. Question number 7. What is the maximum size of cookies in most web browsers? So this one we have discussed most of the time in the class also. The cookies maximum size storing in the web browser, it's in storing in a KB, in the KB format. So kilobyte format. The maximum size of cookies is in the browser 4 KB. The two, the information storing in the text format. In the text format, it is a readable. All the users or hackers can be extract your information from the web browsers. It is a way to hack the system by using cookies. Question number 8. Which HTTP header is used to set a cookies on the client browser? Which HTTP header is used to set cookies on the client browser? Option A, set cookie. Option B, cookie set. Option C, cookie header. Option D, set header. When you are setting the cookies in the HTTP header on the client browser means it is says that you are setting the cookies on the HTTP header which stores in the client browser. So this header information is not visible to the uh, peoples, but when you are using the web browser, the cookies information are stored. So it means that set cookie is the correct answer. It is used to set a cookie on the client browser. If this function is not enabled in your browser means the cookies are not storing on your browser. You can set such kind of option in your browser. Question number 9. What is the purpose of the HTTP only plug in a cookie? Option A, to restrict access the cookies via JavaScript. Option B, to make the cookie accessible only through HTTP request. Option C, to encrypt the cookies data. Option D, to set an expiration date for the cookies. So if you are using HTTP only plug, it will prevent some of the options which is available in the browsers to store the cookies. So mainly we are using JavaScript in the browser where we can enable buttons or actions. So this HTTP only plug restrict the access to the cookies via JavaScript. Via JavaScript. So it will prevent JavaScript access on the cookies. So without JavaScript, you can access cookies. Sorry, you can prevent the cookies. So option A is correct answer. Question number 10. Which of the following is an example of a session management vulnerability? So in OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities we discussed, on that some of the vulnerabilities we mentioned. In that, one vulnerability is the example of session management vulnerability. That vulnerability allows attacker to steal the session cookies. Allows attackers to steal session cookies. So whatever session management happened between the client and server that stores the information as a session cookies in the server, that one can steal by the hackers by using cross-site scripting vulnerability. So this is the vulnerability which allows attacker to steal session cookies. So this session cookies has the user information. So by using of that information, attacker maybe hack your system easily. Question number 11. What does OWASP stands for the context of web security? Online web application security. Option B, Organization of Web Application Security Professionals. Option C, Open Web Application Security Project. Option D, Official Web Application Security Provider. So this WASP, OWAS is the non-profit organization focused on improving software security. So whatever software flaws are existing in the network or system, to improve that software issues, we are using this OWASP vulnerabilities management. So then the answer is it's a open web application security project. So it's a open for everyone. All the software developers, hackers can be used these standards on the web security to protect their systems. And also by using this security vulnerabilities, hacker may enter into your systems. They will search what are the vulnerabilities are existing in the application or network. By that also they will enter. By using of these OWASP standards, the developer will develop the secure code to protect the application or networks. Question number 12. Which of the following is the most common security vulnerability as for OWASP top 10? Most common security vulnerability. Option A, cross-site scripting. Option B, inject attacks. Option C, cross-site request forgery. Option D, insecure direct object reference. So you have to see that which is common security vulnerability as per OWASP top 10. So all the users using this is vulnerability to extract the information. Also it is available in the by that most of the peoples are getting hacked by the attackers. So the answer is cross-site scripting. It's a common security vulnerability in all the application. These vulnerabilities are existing. So this vulnerability allowing the attacker to inject the malicious script into the web pages viewed by the users, because when you are entering the web browser, the attacker will inject the malicious program. That malicious program can be harm, that will harm to the applications, and also it will steal personal information. It will steal personal information which is existing in your application. So answer A is the correct. Question number 13. What is the primary goal of SQL injection attack? So you all are studied about SQL injection attack. What is the main goal of this SQL injection? Option A, stealing sensitive files from the server. Option B, gaining unauthorized access to the server. Option C, manipulating or retrieving data from database. Option D, disturbing network communication. So mainly this SQL injection concentrating on the data which is presenting in the database. So once the SQL injection is happened, it will update the data and it will access the information from the database by injecting the malicious SQL code into the input field, because the database has the several records. So the primary key is the input field. By using that input field, the attacker will inject the malicious code and he will access the information. He will access the information and he can be modify your database without your knowledge. Then the answer is C. Answer is C. Manipulating or retrieving data from database. Question number 14. Which vulnerability involves attackers impersonating users and performing action on their behalf without their consent? So here the attacker will impersonating the users. So the original user is present, but instead of him, the attacker will act as a genuine user. Attacker will act as a Genuine user, it means that impersonating the user. So it is a replicate of the original user. The hacker is the replica of original user and performing actions BF of their BF of the original users. So then what type of vulnerability it is? So this vulnerability comes from CSRF, cross site request forgery, means option B. Option B. So CRF attack tricks users into performing actions without their knowledge or consent, exploiting the user's authenticated sessions. So this vulnerability, without a original user authentication, he may taken all the privileges and you may do some malicious activity. So that will done by the cross-site request forgery vulnerability. Question number 15. What security mechanism helps protect against insecure direct object reference IDOR vulnerability? So which one prevents the IDOR vulnerability? So this IDOR vulnerability, without a proper access, the hackers will use all the services which is existing in the network applications. So you can steal the data from the network or system. But when you are doing some control methodology, then you can protect from the IDOR vulnerability. So here the user is getting the access to access the or retrieving the data from the network. Then the answer is access control list. So this is the method ensuring the users only access resource they are authorized to access. When the users are authorized, then only they can access the data from their servers, or else they are unable to access the information. So such kind of availability can be done by the access control list. Access control list. Question number 16. Which vulnerability involves attackers exploiting the trust a user has in a particular website or the content displayed? So which vulnerability involves attackers to exploit the trust user as the particular website? Some attackers, what they will do means they will generate the fake websites, uh, which will look like a original websites original websites. So that kind of trust can be created by the hackers. So the user will thought that this website is genuine. Once they are enter into the application or website, they may act by the attackers. So that method is called as a click jacking. Click jacking. Clickjacking involves a trick user into click on something different from what the user perceive, potentially leading to unintended actions. So this one will do the unintended actions. Unintended actions means you may lose the data, personal data, you may lose money because they are look like a trustworthy people. So just one click they will hack you very easily. So this kind of methods used by the hackers frequently. So even in your mails also you are getting this kind of mails. If you are click any link, that link is called as a malicious link, that consists of the malicious code which can be hacked by you easily. So option A is the correct answer. Question number 17. What is the primary purpose of security misconfiguration? Option A, exploiting vulnerability in outdated software. Option B, bypassing authentication mechanism. Option C, gaining unauthorized access to sensitive files. Option D, taking advantage of improperly configured security settings. So here, misconfiguration. The security misconfiguration means what are the flaws are created by the user. So improperly you are setting the security measures on your systems or web applications or network that will lead into the attackers to hack your system. So some by the user unintentionally done some security settings that will lead to the attackers to enter into your systems. So they will take advantage of your configurations on network or system or application. By that they can steal the information or gather the information they will use for the other purpose. Then the answer D is the correct. Question number 18. Which vulnerability allows attackers to execute arbitrary code during the deserialization process? Option A, insecure deserialization. Option B, XML external entity injection. Option C, server side request forgery. Option D, clickjack. So here deserialization means the process of reconstructing a data structure or object from a series of bytes or string in order to instantiation the object of consumption. To consumption of data, we are constructing the one method. So it will look like a trusted data. By that the attacker will abuse the users to or abuse the application to leading to arbitrary code execution. So they will send some arbitrary code in the deserialization method, and they will abuse the application to or compromise the application to get the information. So answer is insecure deserialization. Option A is correct answer. Question number 19. Which security vulnerability involves attackers forcing an application to perform action not intent for the user? Not intent for the user. Option A, server side request forgery, insecure direct object reference, cross site request forgery. Option D, insecure deserialization. So this attacker will forcing the application to perform action not intend user. So when the users are sending a request to the server, this attacker will force the server to perform the request bf of the attackers. So he will send the malicious code to the server. So the when the users are sending the request, the server will act like a attacker system, but the user will think like it's a genuine server. So when this session information stores on the server, so you will attacker will get the internal resource of the users. So then answer is server side request forgery, because the attacker will make server forgery. So answer A is correct. Today's last question: what is the primary goal of using security headers in web application? Security header. Why these security headers are using in the web application? Option A, enhance the visual appeal of the website. Option B, improve website loading speed. Option C, enhance security by preventing common attacks. Option D, increase search engine optimization. So remember that each web application has the security. That security has the header. So what is the main goal of this header? We have to see that when the security header is existing on the web application, it will provide more secure for the web application using some additional layers. So that additional layers provides enhancing the security methods in the web application to prevent the attacks. So answer is C, enhance security by preventing common attacks. Thank you, students.